What's up everyone, it's Endymion, and honestly I thought it was over for me and my commentary on Blood Origin, but then some new revelations have come to light and good God. So strap in and let's begin. If you haven't seen my review of Blood Origin, which is on the channel already, the short answer is that the show is complete garbage and an insult to the franchise. Not only this, but it's now been revealed that Blood Origin has the worst audience score for a Netflix original series ever, which doesn't surprise me in the slightest. The show pushes generic plot ideas, craps on established lore, and pushes in enough identity politics to make you scream. And since Blood Origin is doing so horribly for Netflix, the apologists are out in full force, going as far as to say that not only are the fans wrong, but that they don't know what they're talking about. CBR has released an article that says The Witcher Blood Origin is getting review bombed by novel Henry Cavill fans. The gist of this article says that the reason why Blood Origin is doing poorly is not because of its quality, but that the fans are toxic and are salty that Henry Cavill has left. They even plugged their exclusive interview with Declan DeBera, the showrunner of Blood Origin, who said the point of the show was to, and I quote, "In a recent interview, showrunner Declan DeBera stated that his goal with Blood Origin was to create a story worthy of Sapkowski's original novels.
It explores part of the lore of The Witcher that hasn't been explored before.
It's wonderful and terrifying at the same time," he said, "because you want to pay homage to the books and the lore and satisfy all of those fans, but also you want to create a whole story that exists, that would be worthy of a Sapkowski book that lives on television and is self-contained." End quote. Declan DeBara would go on to say why they wanted to create the series in the first place and had this to say, quote, "The conjunction of the spheres is mentioned in Sapkowski's novels but only in passing and does not play into Geralt of Rivia, Yennefer of Vengerberg, and Ciri's story. The history of Witchers is not explored in the core Witcher books, though it is mentioned in Season of Storms. It was this lack of detail that drove DeBera and executive producer Lauren Hissrich to create Blood Origin. In a recent interview, DeBera said, "We were trying to figure things out. I remember getting up to the whiteboard in the writer's room and I drew out a sketch of what I thought this world looked like and what the conjunctions of the spheres is based on." End quote. Funnily enough, while CBR is somewhat defending Blood Origin, probably only because if they do, then Netflix will give them exclusive access to other media for their website in the future, they even admit that Blood Origin is kind of ass themselves in their own review. CBR is basically trying to play both sides here, and it's making them look bad, which is why they need to just admit that it's bad and be done with it, cause it is. It's not only because fans are mad about Henry Cavill, cause let's be real, had Blood Origin been a solid show, if anything it would have helped cure a majority of the toxicity in the fanbase. But the reality is they made a show that is terrible and has only made things far worse. So what the hell? How did we get here? Well, thanks to Yahoo News, we may have our answer with their article that says, Netflix The Witcher Blood Origin showrunner says you never write exactly for fans. Do these people ever learn? My God. The showrunner of Blood Origin even goes on to say, and strap yourselves in because this is a lot, and I quote, "You never write exactly for fans. It is impossible because every person has their own version of that book in their head. Their own version of Geralt, their own version of Yennefer, their own version of Conjunction of the Spheres." DeBera told Yahoo Canada. It's just such a massive fan base and you're never going to satisfy everybody. So our job as storytellers is to tell the best through line, the strongest story we can. And we love this stuff. We're passionate about it.
Is that deaf sign language using character?
So it's finding that through line that will, hopefully, tell a story that will bring everybody on board going forward. End quote. And this is all hilarious because a former writer of Netflix's Witcher, Beau DeMayo, said that the writers openly hated the source material. And with Blood Origin's release, it seems like DeMayo wasn't lying. And dear Declan DeBera, if Blood Origin is the strongest story you guys over there at Netflix can muster up, then it's clear as day that your writers don't know what they're doing or know what the fans want in the first place.
It has the first kiss between two men in the show.
Then, as if things couldn't get any more hilarious, Lauren Hissrich, the lady in charge of all things Witcher over there at Netflix, who was also responsible for casting Henry Cavill as Geralt and then letting him go, had to say, and get ready for the modern audience insert, and I quote, "One of the things from the very beginning that I wanted with this franchise is to show that fantasy is actually for everyone," Hissrich said. "I didn't come into The Witcher as someone who had played dedicated hours of the game. I'd read the first few books and I had fallen in love with them, even before I was asked to do the series. I then read the rest of them and I realized, wow, this series is actually for a lot of people. That's why, for me, I elevated a few more female characters. We are all about diversity, inclusion, making sure that the world that we're representing on the screen represents the real world in front of us and showing that fantasy welcomes everyone." End quote. Jesus, ever-loving Christ, Lauren, I'm begging you to please stop. Everything you just explained is completely not what people want from Witcher at all. The book series is based on Slavic folklore and it's written by a Polish guy. It's okay for The Witcher to not represent the world because it is not the world. It's the same thing like looking at Black Panther, for example. Sure, it's a comic book that takes place on a large stage, but it's integral to retain what makes that property unique amongst other IP that's similar, which is its Afrocentric themes. And that's fine. That's what makes Black Panther what it is, and it's good that they respect that. Which is why it's frustrating that The Witcher, for example, isn't given the same treatment because it is also representative of a certain part of the world too. It is steeped deeply in the mythology and lives of Eastern European Slavic people who are, whether you'd like to admit it or not, are largely white people. From Polish, Serbian, Croatian, Slovenian, Belarus, Ukraine, Russia, Czech Republic, these are Slavic countries. By ignoring the roots of what makes The Witcher unique is why it's failing. It's also why the games have done so well. I'm sure there's people out there who have looked at Witcher 3 and went, why is everyone white? But that would be like looking at Black Panther and getting offended that no one is white or Asian when it's clearly based on a part of the world where certain groups of people originate from. Does what I'm saying make any sense? This is honestly why I think The Witcher as a Netflix series was doomed to fail from the start. They took something that was uniquely and very distinctively Slavic and thought it was wrong and needed to be corrected. I'm not saying you can't have other people of various skin colors here, that's fine, I honestly don't care about that. But come on, you went and made Aile the ancestor of Ciri. How in all of the heavens can Aile and Ciri be related? Look at them. That's like saying Jackie Chan could be Henry Cavill's grandpa. It's ridiculous. Why are you people so hell-bent on pushing identity politics into everything and then attacking the fans for not accepting it? How is this our fault? Was I in the writer's room when Blood Origin was being written? I don't recall seeing my name in the credits, so how is this my fault that the show is complete ass cheeks? You can tell that all of this is disingenuous because you have Joey Beatty, who plays Jaskier in The Witcher Season 1-2 and was even in Blood Origin, and he says that the show is groundbreaking. Joey even said, and I quote, "What Declan has been given is this opportunity to go back and explore this and take everything that Sapkowski wrote, the tonal dissonances that he employs, and translate them into its own tale," Beatty said. "That is, for me, one of the most exciting things. When I was reading the books, I was always wondering, I wonder what happened, and I wonder how that would have played out. Declan has basically taken that and structured it into an unbelievable piece of television cinema. It's groundbreaking for me. It's really epic." End quote.
Bon appetit.
Joey, buddy, I know Netflix signs your checks, but groundbreaking, epic, unbelievable piece of television cinema. Are you sure you were watching Blood Origin? Or was that maybe reruns of Lord of the Rings? Because then, yeah, I would agree with you. Surprisingly, Blood Origin is apparently the #1 show on Netflix right now, meaning people are watching this but it's clear that it's not sitting well with fans. To put into perspective how badly Blood Origin is being received, the next lowest audience score for a Netflix original series is Resident Evil, which is currently sitting at a 26%. Well, it seems that Netflix has some plans for Witcher in the future, with both season 4 and 5 being shot back to back, which is probably being done so Lauren Hissrich and her identity political writers will have jobs and can push their messages for at least a few years longer. Then they plan to make another animated movie in the same vein as Nightmare of the Wolf, and they also want to, get this, make a family-friendly show set within the Witcher universe. You heard that right. The same universe where people get ripped to pieces, get beheaded, and elves are enslaved. Netflix wants to make a show set in that universe that the whole family can enjoy. Look, I know Netflix already doesn't understand what the fans want, but this is just taking the piss. That's like making a Disney Channel sitcom set in Auschwitz during World War II. Like, read your audience, Netflix. No 5-year-old should be exposed to things like Witcher until much later. Jesus. And of course, just like saying fans are only review bombing Blood Origin because Henry Cavill left, CBR also in the past wrote an article defending The Witcher being adapted into a family-friendly series because of course they did. CBR even says, quote, "It's true, Andrzej Sapkowski's The Witcher novels explore a lot of mature themes and don't shy away from getting into the ugly realities of life. But it can still be toned down without compromising some of its grittiness or examination of greater and lesser evils," end quote. CBR actually just said, sure, The Witcher is set in an unforgiving world full of injustice, gore, and domestic brutality, but like, you can just tone that down and make it for kids, it's fine. Kids should totally be exposed to naked women who turn into beasts like the Striga. What harm could be done with an impressionable 7-year-old seeing a nude monster eating people's insides? The mental gymnastics of these sites and the companies as well it's honestly pretty impressive to me. Also, we're not done with CBR because they decided to go on to say, and I quote, "In the end, there's no reason to decry Netflix for somehow ruining The Witcher with the family-friendly project. Netflix's Witcher universe has no bearing on Sapkowski's novels. CD Projekt Red's games or any other form of the fantasy series fans adore. If The Witcher for children works, then it's a huge win for the franchise, but if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work," end quote. So you're telling me Netflix's Witcher has no bearing on the universe, even though they changed series bloodline, said the conjunction of the spheres happened because 2 dumb wizards fought, and that the first prototype Witcher was a grey elven Hulk. Those decisions have no effect. And although I was hoping none of this would spill into the video games, it seems like CD Projekt Red are even starting to bend the knee to modern audiences and things like ESG. They released a video 2 months back where they show how CD Projekt Red, which is a company set in Poland mind you, will be making their games more inclusive and for modern audiences. They even talk openly about how they're going to push ideologies into future games too, and I am gonna go crazy from all of this crap. I am going to turn into the Joker at this rate. CD Projekt, please look at their response to Blood Origin and do not do anything remotely close to that, please. You are our last hope when it comes to The Witcher as an entertainment medium. Do not go down the same path that Netflix did and ruin a legacy that could exist for decades if given the proper time and care. The Witcher Blood Origin has proven things like the Rings of Power or any other modern audience disaster before it, that these companies truly do not care about what we think or want. These properties exist not for entertainment's sake, but simply as opportunities to push propaganda down the throats of people who just simply want to be entertained. As always, my friends, I ask you to do the one thing you can do in these situations, and that is to vote with your wallet. Do not buy or support any of these products that these people do until they change their ways. And I pray that CD Projekt wisens up and doesn't ruin The Witcher or Cyberpunk with any of this nonsense in the future. They tried to cancel Henry Cavill by calling him misogynistic, and they tried to bastardize the lore with their ideologies, and now they're coming for the games. Stay strong, stay true, and as always, thank you for watching. We will win this. I'll see you in the next one.